All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is workbook lesson 121. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. I am excited about this one today. I know this is a good reading. Been through this one a few times. I don't know where you guys are at, but this May 1st is beautiful up here. It's not? What day is it if it's not May 1st, honey? I love you. It's all good. Sometimes the days just kind of run together.
Time is an illusion, honey. That's why I
Oh,
don't know
thank
what day it is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Today we dwell in illusions and wake up from them. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. All right. I'm going to read from Tom's book, Understanding A Course in Miracles workbook lessons. And away we go. Good morning, Christine. Welcome. If any of you are interested in coming up to the top on the stage, I hear we have better audio. I'm going to try and fix mine right now. Here we go. Oh, and I got to go back to buried down on the wrong page. There we go. All right, 121. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. This is over here. These are all lined up. There we go. All right. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. Here, in the statement, forgiveness is the key to happiness, is the answer to your search for peace. Here, in forgiveness, is the key to meaning in a world that seems to make no sense. Here, in forgiveness, is the key. Here, in forgiveness, is the way to safety in apparent dangers that appear to threaten you at every turn and bring uncertainty to all of your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace. Here, in forgiveness, are all questions answered. Here, in forgiveness, the end of all uncertainty is ensured at last. The unforgiving mind is full of fear and offers love no room to be itself. No place where love can spread its wings and soar above the turmoil of the egoic, fear-based world. The unforgiving mind is sad, without the hope of respite and release from pain. The unforgiving mind suffers and abides in misery, peering about in darkness, seeing not, yet certain of the danger lurking there. The unforgiving mind is torn with doubt, confused about itself and all an unforgiving mind sees. The unforgiving mind is afraid, angry, weak, and blustering, afraid to go ahead, afraid to stay. The unforgiving mind is afraid to awaken or go to sleep. The unforgiving mind is afraid of every sound, yet even more afraid of stillness. The unforgiving mind is terrified of darkness, yet more terrified at the approach of light. What can the unforgiving mind perceive but its own damnation? What can an unforgiving mind behold except the proof that all its sins are real? The unforgiving mind sees no mistakes, but only sins. The unforgiving mind looks on the world with sightless eyes and shrieks as the unforgiving mind beholds its own projections rising to attack. The unforgiving mind's own miserable parody of life. Oh, that's what it's attacking. My old job is jumping up and putting windows in front of my screen as I'm trying to read. I must forgive it. All right. What can an unforgiving mind behold except proof that all of its sins are real? The unforgiving mind sees no mistakes, but only sins. The unforgiving mind looks upon the world with sightless eyes and shrieks. I already read this part, sorry. Shrieks as the unforgiving mind beholds its own projections rising to attack the unforgiving mind's own miserable parody of life. The unforgiving mind wants to live, yet wishes it were dead. The unforgiving mind wants forgiveness, but it sees no hope. The unforgiving mind wants escape, yet can conceive of none, because the unforgiving mind sees the sinful everywhere. The unforgiving mind is in despair, without the prospect of a future which can offer anything more than despair. Yet the unforgiving mind regards its judgment of the world as irreversible and does not see that the unforgiving mind has condemned itself to this specific despair. The unforgiving mind is in despair, without prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair. Yet the unforgiving mind regards its judgment of the world as irreversible, does not see the unforgiving mind has condemned itself to this despair. The unforgiving mind thinks it cannot change, for what the unforgiving mind sees bears witness that the unforgiving mind's own judgment is correct. This mind does not ask because the unforgiving mind thinks it already knows. The unforgiving mind does not question, certain it's right. Forgiveness is acquired. Forgiveness is not inherited in the mind, which cannot sin. As sin is an idea you taught your egoic little s self, forgiveness must be learned by you as well, but from a teacher other than your egoic little s self. This teacher of forgiveness is the Holy Spirit, who represents the other higher self in your split mind. Through this teacher, the Holy Spirit, you learn how to forgive the little s self you think you made and let your little s self you imagined disappear. Thus you return your healed mind as the one to Him who is your higher self and who can never sin. Each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity to teach your own split mind how to forgive yourself. Each one who perceives themselves as separate awaits release from the hell through you and turns to your higher self, imploring for heaven here and now. Each one who perceives themselves as separate has no hope, but you become its hope. And you are the hope of those who perceive themselves as separate, so do you become your own hope. The unforgiving mind must learn through your forgiveness that the unforgiving mind has been saved from hell. And as you teach salvation to this unforgiving mind, you will learn salvation. Yet all your teaching and your learning will be not of your egoic, smaller self, but of the teacher, the Holy Spirit, who was given to you by God to show the way to you. Today, we practice learning to forgive. If you're willing, you can learn today to forsake forgiveness, to take forgiveness, which is the key to happiness. So I accidentally got the word forsake in there. Let's ignore that piece because that's really key. So let me read that again. Today we practice learning to forgive. If you're willing, you can learn today to take forgiveness, which is the key to happiness, and use it on your own behalf. We will devote 10 minutes in the morning and at night, another 10 to learning how to give forgiveness. And, really important too, receive forgiveness. The unforgiving mind does not believe that giving and receiving are the same, yet will try to learn today that giving and receiving are one through practicing forgiveness towards one whom you think of as an enemy and one that you consider as a friend. And as you learn to see both enemy and friend as one, we will extend the lesson to yourself and see their escape included in your escape through your forgiveness. Begin the longer practice periods by thinking of someone you don't like, who seems to irritate you or cause regret in you if you should meet him or her. Think of someone you actively despise, or perhaps someone you merely try to overlook, disregard, whatever. It doesn't matter what the form of your anger takes. You've probably chosen him or her already. This one will do. Now close your eyes and see that person you dislike in your mind and look at him a while. Try to perceive some light in that person you dislike somewhere, a little gleam which you never noticed. Try to find some little spark of brightness shining through the ugly picture that you hold of that person you dislike. Look at this picture until you see a light somewhere within that person that you dislike. And then try to let this light extend until the light covers that person you dislike and makes the picture beautiful and good. Look at this changed person. Look at this changed perception of that person you formerly disliked for a while. And turn your mind to one you call a friend. Try to transfer the light You learned to see around your former enemy to your friend. Perceive your former enemy now as more than a friend to you, for in that light, your former enemy's holiness shows you your Savior, saved and saving, healed and whole. Then let your former enemy offer you the light you see in your friend, and let your enemy and friend unite in blessing you with what you gave, which was also this light of forgiveness. Now you are one with them, and they one with you. Now you've been forgiven by yourself. Do not forget, throughout the day, the role forgiveness plays in bringing happiness to every unforgiving mind, with our own little egoic mind among them. Every hour, tell yourself, forgiveness is the key to happiness. I will awaken from the egoic dream that I am mortal, fallible, and full of sin. Know that I am the perfect Son of God. All right. I have notes to read. I cannot wait to do our meditation. We're going to get bathed in light today. Notes for Lesson 121. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. Lesson 121 is the key to my happiness. It's a very important lesson. What true forgiveness involves will be the main topic for the next 20 workbook lessons. Although this lesson states that forgiveness is the key to your happiness, it fails to define what true forgiveness is. Instead, it states that forgiveness is an acquired talent. It's not something that's a natural part of the shared mind of God that cannot sin, since sin is an idea that arose within the split mind that believed itself to be separate from the one self. Sin itself is an illusion. Since we taught ourselves that sin was real by arguing for our little s self, forgiveness must be learned by ourselves as well. Forgiveness undoes our belief in our smaller self, our little s self. By the way, just in case you're not seeing what I'm seeing, I say little s self, we're talking about self with a lowercase s. And when I'm reading through the book, sometimes in the main manual, the blue book, if you will, they use the capitalized version of self to refer to our higher self, our part where ourselves are enjoined with the Holy Spirit. And our higher self, we usually say big S self. Well, big S sounds a little too close to big ass. And so I say higher self sometimes. And that's why you hear different words. But to distinguish this, when we're talking about, ourselves after we finally made that contact and after we've started to get some guidance from the Holy Spirit that dwells within us, that higher self is really our goal in this book, the achievement of being able to be a part of that higher self at will when we're ready so we can get the right answers. All right, back to the book. Our little s self. Forgiveness undoes our belief in our little s self. True forgiveness is the key to happiness, since it alleviates the natural negative consequences that plague the mind that suffers from its belief in the reality of sin. The ego is incapable of teaching us how to forgive anyone, including ourselves, since the ego's thought system is based on the false belief that sin or lack is the reality of our world. Believing lack to be real, your ego will never question the reality of its belief in sin. Sin sits at the foundation of ego's fear-based thought system. It's impossible to escape your belief in lack, limitation, and sin within the same fear-based thought system whose sole purpose is to provide the false evidence to perpetuate the myth about your existence as a separate, limited being. A Course in Miracles states that if one is to understand true forgiveness, one needs to seek a different teacher who knows the truth of who you really are. Only the Holy Spirit understands that you remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and very complete. This voice for God and your big S self, your higher self, both understand that your ego's imaginings that arose from your belief in separation are not real and have no ability to change the truth of who you really are. Only the split-minded need to learn what true forgiveness involves. Because your ego believes that sin is real, your ego is constantly arguing for the rightness of its own erroneous beliefs rather than for your happiness. The ego's thought system is based on the belief that there are outside forces that need to behave in a certain way for you to be happy. A grievance arises any time someone or something fails to perform according to your ego's plan for your happiness. Your ego then judges the other party as having wronged you, and then argues for the rightness of its own judgment that condemns that party. All while arguing for the rightness of its own plan, your ego attempts to manipulate or punish the other offending party in order to get its own way. Your ego's need to be right trumps your desire to be happy. Hi, Nana. The ego fails to realize that you imprison another the ego fails to realize that when you imprison another, you too, as their jailer, must remain in that same prison to make sure that perpetrator does not escape from your justice. Both remain caged in the prison of your own unforgiving mind. An unforgiving mind does not question because it knows it's right. An unforgiving mind is full of fear and trapped within a thought system that prevents love from entering. An unforgiving mind is sad and suffers and abides in misery, doubt, anger, and constant fear. Because it believes sin to be real, an unforgiving mind demands punishment, penance, and retribution for those wrongs. Since an unforgiving mind perceives sin instead of error, sin requires punishment and damnation rather than just correction, as an error would require. The unforgiving mind never questions the correctness of its own judgment. Your physical needs are told to seek and find evidence that confirms your ego's belief that this is a sinful world. This evidence is then used to perpetuate your ego's belief and viewpoint that its sinful outside world is correct, irreversible, and unchangeable, and reflects a sinful you. You remain a victim of powers that are beyond your control. In the lessons ahead, we'll continue to discover what true forgiveness entails and why it is the key to true happiness. Now we have a little side. You guys think forgiveness is an attribute of God? Well, forgiveness is not an attribute of God, because in order to forgive, you must have first condemned. And since God has never condemned anyone, forgiveness is not an attribute within the mind of God. This is why we stated earlier that forgiveness is not a natural attribute in the mind that understands it's already perfect, whole, and complete. This lesson ends with a request that every hour you tell yourself the following message: forgiveness is the key to happiness. I will awaken from the egoic dream that I am mortal, fallible, and full of sin, and know I am the perfect Son of God. So the question of the day is, why is the focus of the above statement on the image of your smaller self, your little ego self, rather than on the wrong that you suffered at the hands of another? We'll get into that question, and I'll put it in the chat and everything right after our meditation. So let's take the 10 minutes that they're asking us to take. And I'm going to help us take a couple of deep breaths to get into a little bit of a more receptive state. And we've got a beautiful day. And a beautiful day can really guide us into forgiveness, into a beautiful way of releasing ourselves and all the others around us from the prisons we put them in. So let's take a moment and remember where we're being supported from, the surface that you're connected to, that connects you down into the earth. And start to imagine the darkest colors of the rainbow inside of you, the reds and the oranges and the yellows, and the bottom chakras of your body, reaching down, growing down into the earth, where we get our sustaining life force. We get energy from the sun. The sun warms the earth, helps the plants create oxygen for us to breathe, food for us to eat, shelter for our bodies from the outside of space. We live in this beautiful world, all sharing this common ground that we touch. So as you do that, take a deep breath and relax your belly so your lungs can expand and pull in all the air possible. And when you take as deep a breath as you can, hold it. Hold that breath as I count down. 4, 3, 2, and on exhale, try and exhale slowly with control for 6 seconds. 2 more. 1 more. Now take a deep breath, 6 seconds in. Deep breath, breathing in a little bit more, just a little bit more, and hold that breath. 4, 3, 2, and breathe out with control, starting now. Breathing out, expelling every little bit of air out of your lungs. And now let's take the deepest breath of the day. Let it last a full 6 seconds. Keep breathing in just a little bit more, and hold on to that breath. Relax your shoulders. Relax your body. Relax. Hold the breath for just a few more seconds. And breathe out with control, letting all the air out of your lungs. Pull your belly button all the way back into your spine to get every last bit out. One more deep breath now. Breathing in for 8 full seconds, 4 more, 3 more, 2 more, all the way full. And hold that breath for the full 8 seconds. 4 more, 3, 2, 1. Exhale with control and get all the air out. Relax into the surface that's supporting you. And I'm going to read from our lesson, and then we will do our practice together that involves forgiveness, because today, forgiveness is the key to happiness. Today, as we search for peace, we find our answer. It's the key to true meaning in the world which seems to make no sense. Here, this way through forgiveness is the way to safety from dangers that appear to threaten you at every turn. And those dangers bring uncertainty to your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace. However, here with forgiveness, all questions are answered. Here, the end of all uncertainty is ensured at last. When we have an unforgiving mind, we're in despair. We're choosing to be the jailer of another brother or sister walking the earth. The unforgiving mind is a depressing place to live because of its judgment. It finds the world irreversible, condemned, full of despair, and can't change. In fact, it doesn't even realize there's an opportunity to change. It never asks because it thinks it knows the answer. It doesn't question this situation because it's certain it's right. My God, could it be more wrong? Forgiveness is acquired. It's not inherent in a mind that cannot sin. As sin was an idea that you taught yourself, forgiveness must be learned by you as well. But it comes from the teacher other than yourself. The teacher who represents the higher self in you. Through the Holy Spirit, through Him, you learn how to forgive the self you think you made and let it disappear. And that's how you return your mind to God, who is truly your self, your higher self. And as we all know, God can never sin. Everybody you come across, every unforgiving mind, gives you an opportunity to teach your own mind how to forgive itself. Every one of these people, these unforgiving minds, they await their release from hell, and they can get it through you. And they turn to you, imploring for heaven here and now, because they have no hope. But you can become their hope. And as they hope, you also become your own. We teach ourselves through our practice. The unforgiving mind must learn through your forgiveness that it's been saved from our worst imagined hell. And as you teach salvation, you will learn. Now, take a moment to think of the person that we're going to be focusing on for this practice. This might be somebody who's just mildly irritating. It might be somebody that you're trying to work with that doesn't really want to work with you. Hi, Francis. Welcome. Try and see your friends and enemies as one for this, as we move through this practice. So, keep this person in your mind for a moment. Someone who seems to irritate you, or if you cross paths with them, invariably you regret it. It might even be someone you actively despise, or it might be someone you just try and not even pay any attention to. You probably have already chosen them, and that person will do. Now, with your eyes closed, picturing this person that you can see no light in, try to perceive some light anywhere. A little crack where the light gets through is all it takes. A little gleam you've never noticed. Try to find some spark of brightness shining through the ugly picture that you hold of him. And look at this picture and keep looking. Stay focused until you see some light, some redeeming quality, somewhere within them. Now that you can see this little glimmer, let that light expand. Know that if they've got the light inside of them, then all the light is also in them, just as it is in you. Take another deep breath. Remember, we're here to expand our awareness of forgiveness. We're here to expand the light in our enemies so that we can see the light in everybody and release ourselves from the jail we created when we put them in jail. Look at this picture until they are covered in light. Then try to let this light extend until it fully encompasses them. Thank God for our ability to do this. This is our way out of our self-made prison that most people spend their lives in, making sure that the people they're punishing stay locked in their cell. Now, this changed perception, keep looking at it, the brightness of the light that fully engulfs them. Thank God for our ability to do this. As we take a moment to take a look at a friend, let's do the same thing with our friend. Seeing the light that His holiness shows you as saved, saving, healed, and whole. That light combines with your own bright white light. and your enemy and your friend unite in blessing you with what you gave. And now you are truly one with them, and they with you. You have been forgiven now, right now, by yourself, the God within you, your higher self. Come back to this thought throughout the day. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. I would awaken from the dream that I'm mortal, fallible, and full of sin, and know that I am the perfect Son of God. Take a moment and come back. Come back to our little room. Come back to the room you're in, the chair you're sitting on, bed, whatever's supporting you. Our bodies are a way for our souls to get carried around this planet. It's your choice to hold on to your spirit or let it be free to encompass the whole entire world. There's no dimensionality when we're talking about this higher plane of existence. Keep your eyes on the spark of light that you just created. Keep your eyes on that holy spark, that instant that gives you an eternity right here in the present. This is as close as we get to eternity. Dwell here today. And as we come out of our meditation, I'll help you remember to put a reminder for yourself. Because every hour, knowing we're the perfect child of God, forgiveness comes easier. And the reasons we need to employ forgiveness become farther and farther apart as well. Have a beautiful day, my friends. 121 days of reading through these lessons, and we get to the keys for the kingdom. We're going to enjoy these for the rest of the year as we practice forgiveness. But the next 20 days or so are really key to getting this. It's the central message of this book. It's the way out. And I'm so happy you're here with me. I finally got my bowls to work. Namaste, my friends. Come back to today, my friends. Everything is wonderful here. I can't wait to hear how this worked out for you. Jumped through a whole bunch of hoops yesterday to get my Tibetan singing bowls to work. I'm so excited. I'm tickled. I hope it feels wonderful on your side. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think of today's lesson. This is one of my favorites. Okay. Andy, I love your new picture. That is wonderful. Lots of good stuff. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to turn off hand raising for just a second because sometimes this thing sticks. And now I'm going to open it back up to everybody. So if you feel like being up here in the stage and sharing, you're welcome. And for those of you that are on the stage already, the spotlight's on. So I can't wait to hear what you think. Thank you for joining me. I am complete.
Beautiful meditation. Beautiful, beautiful. And the bowls are amazing too. Divine says that those singing bowls sounds amazing. So it really was an amazing meditation. Thank you very much for doing that with so much intention of really bringing the light to everybody else's minds and yours too, honey. Thank you. Well, this lesson is beautiful. For me, this is new. This is the first time with this lesson. And the reading was really quite amazing. And I can't stop putting my eyes on the part that says that each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity to teach your own how to forgive itself. And as always, I always have experience the previous day that gives me material to share in the following session. So yesterday we had a situation here at home at the beginning of the morning, and it was a difficult one for me to overcome. But it's really through forgiveness that you can move your feelings around. It's through forgiveness. It's only through forgiveness. But forgiveness only comes when you realize what is the concept, or for me at least, what is the concept, or what is the idea that needs to be reversed. In yesterday's situation, Lee just mentioned something that he had in his mind about him missing his son, and I was just doing comments around that specific situation he put in our space. And we entered into a conflict because he didn't mean to do the comment in order for me to just like dwell in the idea. He wanted just to share the thought and let it go. And as I can understand and relate with the feeling of missing my daughter, because I am away from my daughter, I just thought that, well, it was an object of conversation. But what it caused was like like making real the error that we are a part of our kids, right? So we got into a conflict between ourselves because we were resisting each other's thoughts. So we had a meeting with a friend of Lee at noon, and in the way, while we were driving there, I was still contemplating my feelings because I wasn't in a good place. So I kept saying to Lee, I cannot shake this feeling, and I don't want to feel like that. I mean, I know that we don't mean anything by having this, and we can always sort it out, but I can't shake this feeling, and I don't want to feel like this. So I have to really take more time within myself to realize what was there that I needed to express, or something to be able to move, to release. And it's the idea, I mean, what the revelation was for me was the idea that whenever he gets into that mindset that he is being like taken away from his kids, for me is a reminder that I'm apart from my daughter. But I am building my mind around the idea that separation doesn't exist. So when these things happen, for me, are like a reminder that what I'm doing is wrong, for example. So on some sort of reminder that I'm away from my daughter too. So then I realized, well, this is the key. I mean, my daughter is not a toy. I started to say to myself, my daughter is not a toy, and I shared that with Lee in our way to our friend's lunch. It's just that I'm not willing to see my daughter like she's lacking of something, or that I am lacking of something, because I have her. I mean, she is my daughter. The fact that I'm away from her, it doesn't mean that I don't love her. doesn't mean that I'm not taking care of her, because I am around every single situation in her life, and maybe I'm not present physically, but I am there and I know what is going on with her, and I'm building a relationship around others so she can feel me, she can feel my presence, even if even if she doesn't want to talk to me, because there's sometimes that my kid doesn't want to talk to me because she's busy with her video games or doing something, and she doesn't want to talk to her mom, and that has to be okay. I don't get I don't I'm willing to not let that kind of circumstances take the best out of me, because that in that way I will be seeing my daughter as a toy that I need to have, and my daughter is not a toy. So each unforgiving situation that you have in your day-to-day basis from another person is a lesson to yourself. What is the part of you, or what is the situation related to your personal experience that it's causing you discomfort? Because what the other person is giving you through conflict is a conversation for yourself to have with your higher self. So my daughter, of course, is not a toy, and it was beautiful what happened yesterday, because Lee was getting sad because he haven't seen or talked to Dean during this week. But then when we were having the discussion here at the house, he did receive a call from his daughter, and he could like have a sense of what was going on with them. So it was, well, at least was something for him to have like a little bit of knowledge of what's going on with them. But in the other side, myself, I haven't heard from my daughter. I haven't heard from my ex-husband. We constantly talk to each other each day, so I can know what is going on. But yesterday I haven't heard from them anything, and I didn't want to call them or write to them because I knew that my ex-husband probably was busy or whatever, and I wanted to test how committed he was to give me information about my daughter. And when we were driving and I was having this kind of contemplation around my own feelings, what happened was that Kurt, without me asking him, he told me, "Hi, I'm right now with Paloma and her kids, and look," and he sent me a video. They were all happy. Vera was in this place doing, how do you say that in English? Zip line. Doing zip line. Vera was waving at the camera. She was fully happy, and I felt totally complete, because I realized that as I was really doing my work of taking the entire situation as an experience that I needed to learn from myself, and myself was really feeling sad that I haven't seen my daughter yesterday or know about my daughter yesterday. It was like a reward. I mean, it was like really the physical level of the phone sent me back this huge gift. My daughter was super happy, having a great day. Of course, I didn't mind that she didn't want to talk to me, because she was so happy that it made me feel like everything is okay, Adriana. So forgiveness is the key to happiness, but in order for you to forgive, as the book says, you made up the idea of you are doing wrong or doing a separation or whatever, so you need to make up the idea that that is not true in order for you to experience peace and happiness. For me, it was really like I instantly manifest that information from my daughter, because I really understood my daughter is not a toy. I said it out loud in the car, and I shared that thought with Lee. I'm not willing to let my daughter's situation be my ego toy. And then after like 10 minutes, I received this video, and I was, wow, that's amazing. I didn't ask Kurt to send me anything, and he never sent me pictures of my daughter because he considers himself so bad to take pictures that he never take pictures of my daughter to me. But now he's sharing this kind of information, and for me that's enough, even if my daughter doesn't want to talk to me, because I know that Curtis, taking into consideration that I haven't had information from her and that he wants me to know that she is okay. So it's such a great gift, and I can relate to this specific lesson so well because that happened to me yesterday. Each unforgiving mind or thought, you can think it like that, presents you with an opportunity to teach your own mind how to forgive itself. So yeah, you need to fill everything with light and think everything that happens to you as a learning opportunity. I wanted to share that in case it's some practical examples of these beautiful lessons. As always, I share this kind of information with you.
This lifetime, my earlier youth, I was very good at seeing and condemning everything and everyone for my world. I was sure that the world hated me and I hated it back. And I was very good at condemning and blaming. And as I continued on that path, whether I realized it or not, because I was condemning so many others, I naturally felt and looked upon myself as someone of that was deserving of contempt, that was deserving of bad things. If anything good, and I don't really remember much things good, but if anything would have happened that would have been good, uh, I would have sabotaged it. And usually I sabotaged it, so there was nothing good. And it was that condemnation of others and not realizing that I was condemning myself, because the law of God is really to give is to receive. As I gave hate, I got hate back. And it was something that, just kept me trapped uh, in this dark place. And as I, went through my life, I was the one person that I could never forgive would have been my father. And I really, of all the people, there's no way that I could ever forgive that person. And fortunately, I was blessed and I was able to see some little bigger picture and start seeing different past lives that I had had. And as I did that, I realized that in past lifetimes, I had been the abuser, and that we had played this role lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And we had just continued to always seek revenge from our past experience. And it was just that ongoing, continuous cycle. And as I realized how I had abused him in past lives, I all of a sudden became very under, compassionate and understanding about why he had done the supposed things to me, because of what I had done in the past. And I really developed, as I saw those past lives, real compassion for the man. And I, uh, that day, decided that I was going to not continue that negative creation cycle, that I was not going to argue for my rightness or say that he hurt me last, therefore I have to hurt him back somehow. And when I did that, and I realized that I was not a victim, that we were both willing volunteers, and that it was my own condemnation that kept me trapped. And I decided that I was going to not continue to feed that hate, not continue to seek revenge, not blame him for the actions that he had done, because actually, whenever I look back and you think of the balancing scale, it seemed that I deserved it. So when I unlocked that door, though, uh, that gave me permission to forgive myself, because whether we realize it or not, whenever we uh, think that we've wronged somebody, our higher self or our egoic self realizes that we've sinned, or thinks or perceives that as a sin. And our ego, in arguing for its rightness, that I sinned against him in previous lifetimes or whatever, uh, it makes sure that I would have to pay that price. So whenever you forgive another, really what happens is you forgive yourself for all the blame, shame, guilt that you thought you were projecting on someone else, but that you really projected upon yourself, and that that person was just a conduit to make you uh, feel that you've done your penance. And whenever I forgave him, I was able to forgive myself, and my world started to brighten up. And in regards to that, whenever I decided to uh, no longer keep him in the prison, he actually turned out to be a pretty nice guy. So it's it's amazing what forgiveness will do. He is my greatest teacher. Thank you.
Amazing, Tom. Thank you for that story. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Tom. That was great. Thank you for sharing that. How did you make that shift, though? How did you get to that point where one day you just said, I'm not going to blame him anymore? Like, what was going on in your mind? Can you get more detailed about that, if that's
Well,
possible?
yeah. Well, in my case, I'm a selfish SOB, and I realized that if I was ever going to get free from that negative creation cycle, I had to unplug the uh, energy circuit that was tied to the belief that I needed, or that I was deserving of revenge, that I had to square the record, make it uh, straight. So whenever I realized that by trying to keep him in prison, or continuing the revenge cycle, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, whenever I realized that the only way I could get free was not to continue to feed that energy. Now, when you do that, you and really we unlock all prison doors, which means that I can leave. Whether that other person chooses to see themselves as someone worthy of forgiveness, or someone that has done their penance, and therefore they can leave that prison jail, because it's ourself that keeps us in the prison. We think we're trapping someone else, but you're really entrapping yourself. So it was totally selfish. It was just me being sick and tired of being, having this abuse situation, and that I said I had learned my lesson, and I didn't want to participate in that game. If he wanted to participate in that on a continuing future, that was his right, and I gave him permission to do that. And what was interesting, whenever given the option, he realized that that probably wasn't the best way to go about it. And what really turned it around, I think, because at around 23 or so, I forgave him, and I said that I wasn't going to participate. But about 20 years later, uh, I actually, rather than just tell him, or keep it a secret, so to speak, that I forgave him, I actually uh, got together and I told him that he was my perfect mentor, that he was my teacher, that he had never done anything wrong, that he had always been there, and he did exactly what he needed to, that I needed to continue to grow and learn. And so any beating or anything like that, was exactly what I needed in that. So there was no condemnation. There was just appreciation for him fulfilling his role. As a matter of fact, I told him, I said, I don't know how someone could be so kind and so uh, thoughtful as to take on the role of being the parent of a devil and try and help that devil reawaken to the truth. So, when I not just forgave him, but actually said he did nothing wrong, that he did everything perfect, that he was the greatest father and that I could ever have wanted, and I made a perfect choice in picking him. Uh, Boy, that was like lifting a veil because he probably really believed that maybe he did do something wrong. And it was that uh, realization that we are all actors and not mistaking the role that one plays for what they truly are, that really helped. And in this case, what I did is I created, and we write an ego for everyone and everything that we come in contact with. And the ego that I had written for him at age 23 was that he was justified in his situation, that I was no longer going to participate. But the ego I wrote for him at, you know, 20 years later was that he was perfect, that he was exactly what I needed, that he was the one that had the guts to volunteer for the role of abusing me so that I could learn to some self respect for myself and that I could have the opportunity, the pleasure of breaking that negative creation cycle. So it was just really a state of wonderment that someone would have done that for me. And that really let him escape from the prison of his own mind because in his own mind, he perhaps thought that maybe he didn't do everything perfect. And when you tell everybody that in the end, if I was you and your same beliefs, your same assumptions about yourself, your same past decisions would have done exactly what you did, that you did nothing wrong. There's no blame, shame, or guilt involved in anything. Uh, People, if given an opportunity to see a higher vision of themselves, and that's what we're asking you to do, hold out that higher vision for your brothers and sisters. They will often uh, take that vision and run with it as opposed to the vision that they had self created of themselves being a sinner and uh, having the inability to forgive themselves for all the things that they perceived didn't go right in their world. So it's, and I can't stress this enough, we write an ego for everyone and everything that we can come in contact with. And although just because we write an ego, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will accept it. But when you hold that out for your brothers and sisters, and it's kind of like whenever I was a kid, and there's Mrs. Barczewski, and she offered to make me a grilled cheese sandwich. You don't know how much that can turn someone's life around. It's just amazing the miracles that are out there that you can perform if you forgive. And to give is to receive. And whenever you give that forgiveness, it comes back to you in so many ways. You're truly blessed. Thank you.
Oh my God, I want to hug you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom.
I want to share something that I found in the book that I'm reading, the third Jesus from the Chopra. This is a part of the Gospel of Truth that was found way before the other ones. Well, forgetfulness did not exist with the Father. All thought it existed because of him. What exists in him is knowledge, which was revealed so that forgetfulness might be destroyed and that they might know the Father. Since forgetfulness existed because they did not know the Father, if they then come to know the Father, from that moment on, forgetfulness will cease to exist. So, forgetfulness, not sin, is seen as the root cause of error or loss of contact with God. That's all there is. I mean, that's the main issue that we are all encountering in our experiencing duality. This piece is it's beautiful.
Tom, your story is, and we've heard it several times, but the context and everything that you put it into today just made it ever more powerful, a lesson for all of us. And in fact, what we take away from that story is not that all we have to do is make grilled cheese sandwiches for people. It's knowing that we're all God's children, and this is a good world, and none of the evil in it can hurt us, because all that stuff comes from various distortions made by the egos of different people. And then, since we know, as we learn in this course, that evil is still an illusion, which at first glance, you say, how can you say evil is an illusion? Look what's going on in the other part of the world. It's still an illusion when we understand that we are sentient beings. We are much more the mind than the bodies. I sense that in today's world there's many more young people coming in who have already discarded a tremendous amount of the baggage of history and society, and they much more quickly pick up this kind of forgiveness. They also pick up the lack of forgiveness and where it's going, and they don't accept it. They see it, but they reject it, and they're very vocal about that. And I think that's good. I think it's good because it has to be. You have to know something is wrong if you haven't forgiven it, so that you will know to forgive it. And that insight is a miracle. That's given to us at some point, and that's what Tom was saying. And that's what I think is terrific, because that particular story is, I mean, he came back from hell and he was the devil. And that's the way he grew up, with that kind of mentality, because of what he brought to this lifetime. And I really want to honor you, Tom, for telling this story. Each time I hear it, I get something else from it too. It's a beautiful story. It's certainly a story that anybody who thinks they're in hell, guess what? Some people have had it even worse than that and have come through it, thrown away the keys to the jail that kept them in jail, along with the one that they thought they were jailing. And you can come out into a world of light, forgiveness, and go on to help other people find the same light that was given to you. It's a beautiful story, and thank you for telling it. And I'm sure that everyone in this room has had an experience of some sort where you felt things change and you felt forgiveness. If those people who have had that kind of experience would come on up and share it, I think it would be great, because we would see how important forgiveness is to our life and what it does for us. So I'm going to stop talking so others can come on up.
That was so beautifully said. And I just want to say that yesterday I did start opening up the prison doors one at a time. They're not all open yet. But you guys are really helping me so much. And I love what you said, Tom, about it being like a purely selfish decision, because like I don't want to be in that prison either. I want to be free. I don't want to have to be keeping an eye on anybody. That's not what I came here for, especially if we're all equal. And Lee, wow, that meditation, yeah, you're getting really good. That visualization of seeing that person, that's inside of your prison, and seeing them light up, and it was just so beautiful. That was so helpful, and I'm gonna do that for each person I still have left inside of this prison. Wow, I'm just so grateful. Again, every morning I'm like so sleepy. I'm like, oh, am I gonna go in there? And I just can't not come in here, because it's just too good. It's too juicy, and it's always too relevant for my life. And you guys have helped me so much. I'm really grateful. Thank you. Love you.
Isn't it great to have this? I mean, it's amazing. It's like going to church, but in a new way of going to church.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun way to go to church, I guess. I mean, I was really considering when I started to come to these rooms the
It's like a
previous
church
year, I
delivery
was.
service where we're delivers on DoorDash for God. You're welcome.
Oh my God!
You
Well, the
might
thing.
have something there, Lee. DoorDash for God. I like that.
And I started that as you, Divine. Last year, I remember when I started to come to the room, for me, it was really like early in the morning. But as I have a kid and I had to wake up early to start to getting her ready for school and all those things, I figured, well, this is a good way to start my day. I mean, I'm gonna consider these guys like my alarm. So every single day they were my yeah, they were my wake up call, and well, they turned up being more than my wake up call, or maybe the greatest wake up call that I could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Because now I'm here and I'm sharing all my life with you in some form that it makes me feel free and full of happiness and joy, and just willing to keep my life going in a different way that I could possibly expect it. I never expect to have this kind of turnaround in my life. But it's one that it's really amazing to see now. And now that I can see clearly that my daughter is not my toy, for example, um, I can imagine how I mean, it's just that there's so many things that get us like scared when we are parents, because we don't know how the things are going to turn up being in the future of our kids. But with this book and these tools and my experience on myself, I can clearly see that no matter what my daughter faces, I will always have a good answer for her to move her from fear to love again. And I don't have any doubt about it now. And that's all because I'm living this experience like this. So it's really important for us to practice in our day-to-day conflicts or activities. It's like really maybe we don't get to have much time to meditate, but we do have enough material to contemplate ourselves. So we have so many tools to get out of fear. So we only need to reach to them and ask God, and the tools will appear in front of you, as it did to me when I was in despair. I was so really in desperation because I couldn't see the way out of my conflict, and the tools started to appear, and then the course of my life would really change, and then reappear. I mean, it's everything. It's everything part of the mind process, so it's important for us to practice. I'm really thankful for everybody's journey because it's really fun to have these lessons with all of you.
And the experience of knowing that Vera is always going to be okay, Adriana, is also due to, even if you're not available at a particular time, now you know that even Kurt will rise to the occasion and take care of it. And so what we're doing in this forgiveness deal is we're unlocking the keys that we have kept to keep us in jail so that God can perform miracles for us, as well as Vera, as well as Kurt, and as well as everyone else. We're finding out that all we have to do is forgive, and then we can get, because forgiving and forgetting, this is a play on words that has two different opposite meanings that work together. Forgiving is forgetting good, better stuff. So if we forgive and forget, and that usually happens in a miraculous experience, because it's really hard when someone has done some really grave injustice to you, as your mind defines it. You can say, well, I'll forgive him, but I can never forget what he did. When you finally forget what he did and it doesn't occur to you anymore, you have really been able to get the kingdom. It's an amazing play on words, forgiving and forgetting. And anyone who is not too sure whether they have forgiven someone simply means that they haven't forgotten it. They haven't deeply enough forgiven it with an understanding of how God straightens out all things.
And if we play as we play with words, and you can split them, you have forgive, you give the pardon to whatever it is the conflict, to forget. I mean, for you to
For to
get,
get.
yeah, for you to get the kingdom of heaven. Yeah.
Exactly. Beautiful.
Namaste. Good morning. Conversation has been good. How is everyone this morning? Sound
Welcome
like you're
back,
getting
Rosa.
off.
Rosa.
There
I
she
have good
goes.
Hi,
news.
Rosa. We love you.
Thank you. I love you too, guys too. And you hit on something. really difficult for humans to do. We have this memory foam that bounces back automatically to wherever it left until we are aware of it. And then we choose to forget. And we want to forget. We really want to. Uh, However, if every time you hear or see or think about that experience, you start feeling angst and anxiety, then no, you need to start doing some literal writing forgiving and actually look at what part you played. Because a lot of times I think that um, we can forgive that person, but we cannot forgive ourselves for allowing that person to be in our lives in the first place and being a part of that experience. So I don't think we forgive and we have to forgive ourselves in the same process. Once we've done both of them, then we can get better. And I should say, and it is a process to forget. We can forgive a whole lot, but can we actually forgive completely so that it will not be or cause any angst in our emotions when we're in that person or that experience, and we'll see it again when it comes because we've forgiven it already. Um, but our memory foam will not allow us to forget. So therefore, we have to do more work on it. We have to write letters to it. We have to speak about it, but we also need to write it down and why we feel that we need to forgive both ourselves because this is an experience, this thing called life. And in it, we chose to do certain work. And sometimes the work that we chose is so difficult and so painstakingly um, hard that we don't want to do that work. We don't really want to look into it. And I congratulate you for doing your work uh, because I really truly believe that we chose the work that we must do. It's like that story that Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his fake news book about the angels being asked to volunteer to do this difficult work here on earth. And we chose to. I truly believe we choose whether or not we're going to come back here on earth. I said a long time ago, I don't want to choose earth again. I've done my work. I'm done. I don't want to come back here. This is not where I want to come back. When I pass, I do not want to come back and start all over on earth. I want to heal whatever needs to be healed right now so I can choose to stay in God's world completely. Uh, and that might be even more difficult to live on earth in God's world totally, where you've already forgiven everything and now you just want to work to help make or help everyone else recover their experiences. And if I find out that that's the truth and I can choose, I will send a message to all you guys to think well about whether or not you want to come here and what you really want to do when you get here. Who you going to help? You know, who am I going to help? All the family and all the friends that I have come in contact with in this experience were here to either teach me a lesson or me teach them. And I have to be all right with that. And I have to be loving and forgiving in all of that experience because we're all brand new to this whole thing. Some of us have worked on it a lot longer than others, and some of us have clarity in our purpose and our journey here without a lot of angst and anxiety, without a lot of worry. Because I know for a fact that no matter what I can do or cannot do, God can do it all. So if I hand it over to Holy Spirit in my whole struggle or experience of trying to forgive and forget everything and everybody, then there are a lot of other tools that I can use too, and they will come. One of those that I use all the time, Ayanna Van Zandt, my sweet, I love this woman. Um, and she has done two books that I use, Forgiving Everybody for Everything and Let It Go. I love the last one, the Let It Go book. Let it go. God, it's not that important. Let it go. Whatever it is. So and so cheated on you. Let it go. When did you cheat on yourself? So and so disrespected me. When have I disrespected myself? What we give is what we receive. And a lot of times we've done all this stuff to ourselves and we don't even see it until someone else does it to us. We receive nothing that we did not ask for or we do not even have to heal. And we can't be all up in our head about why me? Oh my God, why me? Why not you? Who should teach this lesson better? Well, shit. Come on now. It didn't just come to you. You weren't just standing in the way and said, oh, God said, let me send out all the shit. And I was standing there to grasp all the stuff that God was sending out for lessons to be learned. Oh no, this is my journey. And it is important that I realize my part and how I played in it and what I did in it. Because nothing is new under the sun. And we have to forgive it all so we won't have to repeat it. Truly forget it all so we won't have to repeat it. Truly live in love and forgiveness constantly, every hour of the day. You know, how many of you have sat in your house and didn't do a thing to yesterday or to the day before because you just didn't feel like it? So what? Don't do nothing. That's your right. You know. So forgiveness, I think, is very important in order to truly learn to love. And those people who say, "Oh well, I don't think I have anything to forgive," try meditating on. It. Try just sitting in quiet and ask God, what, who, or how, who do I need to forgive? What do I need to forgive? What part did I play that I need to forgive? Bring it to me and then make up a name that you haven't seen in a long time. And that may be the person that you need to heal. You need to forgive. You need to extend forgiveness. And you don't need to do it one on one. Spirit touches. So if we send out that love, we send out that forgiveness, they will receive it and they will do something different or not, but you will. And that's the most important part. We are our most important part of this journey. And some of us overlook that. So yeah, forgive yourself first, immensely, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your tears. Forgive self first, then forgive the other person. Because you played some part in it. May not be able to recognize it, but you played a part. So I'm done. And don't think I'm not here. I don't know. I don't know. I guess you see me when I show up.
I
Rosa,
see you, Rosa.
we see you all the time. It's I see that smiling face, and I know things are good in this world. And Rosa, I
Mm,
got some good news for you. In the beginning of the book, it talks about a desert, and it says if you're in a desert and you want some water, and you go and look and look and look, and you can't find any water, then the answer is leave the desert.
mm,
So that is a kind of a turntable, and I believe when I read it and I think about it, and in light of what you just said, that you don't want to have to come back anymore. When you don't see the need for your presence, then you don't have to come back anymore, and you just
that's
leave that desert. The desert is that there are people who are running around thinking that they're their bodies, that their body is all it is. And that's all that's important in this world. And that's just another way of saying that the money that they earn is all that they are, and completely disregarding who they really are, which is a child of God. Because everybody is, whether they believe it or not. That's how we got here in the first place. So it's our job to find out where there's a need and try and help fill that need. One of the things that Lee and I decided, and the reason that this room was officially launched July 4th last year, was we all need to feel and be free. We need to know that no matter what is going on in your life, there's a way out, and it's to take the keys that are already in your pocket and unlock the jail that you thought the jail had a door that was locked. And then Lee likes to expand that. He says he finds out that jails only have 3 walls, but you're looking the wrong way. You're looking to the back where you think all 4 walls. You imagine that you're locked in, but you're not. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful world. When we look at it with these principles, if we find ourselves in a desert, leave the desert.
Oh,
I'm ready to turn my desert into some dessert.
oh, I hear you.
Uh-huh. That's right. That's
Ooh,
right.
A
DoorDash is
miracle.
back.
A miracle. That's a miracle.
Delivering some stuff.
It
I
was
Where-
wanted
Well,
me.
to
I
add something. Well,
yeah.
if you were, I didn't want to cut you off, Bob.
no, I'm finished. Go ahead.
Rosa, when you were talking about forgive yourself first, um, most of my life I've been the one to forgive last. It's always been easier for me to forgive others. And Tom, when you called yourself, you said you were a devil. Your dad was raising a devil. I was that devil too. I felt like my mother was raising a devil. I did a lot of stuff I felt to her to make life difficult. And even as recently as when she has moved in with me, I guess she was at least probably in her 70s. And I thought back to an argument that we had, a running argument, which was ridiculous. It was, I had those big giant wash machines with the big front loader, the fancy wash machine. And so I tried to wash everybody's clothes together because it would save water. I want to conserve water. I'm an environmentalist, and that's so important.
Right there with you, my friend.
Yeah, like that's a big deal to me, right? I don't like waste and all this kind of stuff. So here's my little mom, she's in the house and she wants to wash her, like, 2 pieces of underwear and a couple blouses and whatever. And I'm like, you can't do that. You're wasting water, you know? Like, so I wanted to wash her clothes with our clothes. And then her clothes would kind of get swallowed up in our clothes because there was so many clothes. And it was just a big deal. So we were arguing. We were just arguing. Like knock down, drag out argument over clothes. Like over clothes in a washing machine. Really? Really, Janine, really. I had to look at myself. You're arguing with your 70-something-year-old mom. What a devil. What a devil you are. Let her wash her clothes. If she wants to wash 1 piece of underwear in that giant machine of yours, let her.
God.
What difference does it make? And I used to
And then you
judge
go and
myself.
lock yourself in the room while she does that, so you don't, so
Yeah,
she don't get to see your faces.
exactly. I had to turn away, not worry about the water, and but it wasn't important. I had to let it go and let the self judgment go, because self judgment is probably the worst thing you can do. It was so destructive because turning in on yourself, it withers, it eats away at you.
All right, you
Um,
guys, I have to confess something.
yes, ma'am.
Tell us about it, Andy.
Noelle, Janine,
You
sorry.
are
You
forgiven
finish up.
already.
Finish up,
Yeah.
Janine. No, I'm only kidding.
No, I'll
No,
finish in 1 second. I was just
yeah.
saying that
I'm
Here it
playing.
comes.
no, it's just it eats away at you. The lack of self forgiveness. And when I stopped judging myself, that's when I began to heal. Um, I kind of lost my train of thought a second ago, but it'll come back. I had a point
I'm
to make,
sorry.
but that's all right. That's all right. Um, but yeah, I forgive myself first now, and I receive a beautiful grace from that. So that's all I'm gonna say. Maybe the rest will come back later.
Yeah,
My mind
but your
just
mom
left me.
continues to do that.
Well, not now because she can't even wash clothes now,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately. Yeah, but yeah, I've been a devil for her, and she's such a angel to raise an only child like me. I've given her a run for her money, I'll tell you, and she's given me quite a run too. And I just laugh now when she's a little cantankerous, and I love her. I just love her and her ramminess. She's an Aries, Andy, and I I love her for it. So thanks.
You know, people in their idiosyncrasies. I had that experience when I was down my aunt's house. My cousin who lives with her has a system of how he shops. Boy spends a whole lot of money on food and gives it away and throws it away because they don't eat that much. But he has a place and a system. And so if I move the system, I might take the bread and move it to another table, and he gets upset. And I just laugh at him. I'd be like, boy, you and your idiosyncrasies. I said, you throw away more bread than you save, moving it around the table because nobody eats it. So why are you spending this money? Why? Because they don't have anything else to do with his money. He doesn't have to pay bills because his mama pays all the bills in the house. So he has this um, um, amazing salary that he has been sitting on, and he spends it crazily, just insanely. And I just look at it, laugh at it. So it just gave me the experience of being in someone else's space, and the most that I asked for was the truth in that whole experience, and wake up every morning or go to bed every night and a tear will drop out my eyes since I've left there because I know that I'm supposed to be there. But, and I should also realize that even though I think I'm supposed to be there, I have to be welcomed there. And even though they may have thought they welcomed me, they didn't. And so I don't know how that's going to play out. Uh, but rest assured that I know something's going to change. And I don't know how or what, because I know that in reality, I never want to be put out of a place and not have a place to go. That's my whole thing. I have taken care of myself for the last, well, I guess since I left that house at 16. I've always had a space or a place that I had that had my name on it. And that was my safety. I never want to be homeless again. And that experience taught me and um, made me realize that, are you really willing to give up your safe space, your space of safety? Your home is your castle. Uh, and so that's an experience that maybe that's the lesson that I need to learn, that wherever I am, I'm at home. It doesn't matter whether my name is on a lease or not. I need to feel at home. And so that wasn't there.
No, I just wanted to say something because I got to leave, but the law of karma is basically that we're the keepers of our own karmic keys. God didn't condemn us. It's ourselves, it's our little s self that condemns ourselves to the experiences that we have. And we need to, as Janine said, practice some self forgiveness because the law of allowance says that no matter how deserving and qualified I am, I will never have the life that I desire and deserve until I am able to envision it for myself and give myself permission to have it. And that refusal to give ourselves permission to move on and unplug the energy circuits that keep those negative beliefs about yourself going. We're the ones that plug the circuit in, and we're the ones that needs to unplug it and forgive ourselves for requiring that lesson and not indulge in a blame, shame, or guilt game for anyone or ourselves. Just say, I've been there, done that, I've learned the lessons, and I no longer choose to participate. You're the ones that give yourself permission to graduate anytime you want. So thank you, and you guys create a great day. Namaste.
Thank you, Tom. Andy, I'm waiting for you.
Oh, my
Thank you,
confession.
Tom.
And you know what? I feel like a real shit right now, though. I'm sorry. I have to
Oh,
forgive myself for that. But I
Don't worry.
definitely did not want to stop that flow. And I felt really, but actually, there was a lesson in that for me for sure,
Yeah,
which
it's all
I'm,
good.
well, what, Janine, I love you so much. I love you all. I love you all so much, actually. Yeah. And for some reason, I thought that my confession was important in the moment. and it,
No
and
worries, Andy, at all. I love you too.
Yeah,
It was
it
just,
could
I
have
Yes.
been important
consider
for
it like a
somebody.
brain like blip because I'm like a little my ADHD. It's like, oh, what's
Oh,
wrong?
see,
Oh.
I hope you remember because I lost a lesson. I
No
lost a
worries.
light.
No worries at
Wow.
But
all.
what was the confession? I want to hear the
Oh,
confession.
you
You're
sure
already
do want to
forgiven,
hear
but
it. I think you want to hear it, Adriana, because I'll tell you what. I've been like going back and forth in my head, like, why do we get pleasure out of someone's pain? And once again, I'm like,
that's why.
it's that subject again. Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I actually had this like whole like this whole like guilt complex come over me because now this is going to sound horrific. I'm about to like expose myself here big time, make myself really vulnerable. And Tom, I see you waited to hear that because I heard you say you had to go, but anyway.
well, if you're going to expose yourself, it's a good thing that we only see each other by what we're saying. Please
Right.
continue.
Well, okay. Yeah. I had this like experience and I was trying to understand why I had this experience because it does not happen to me with everybody, every reflection, just with the I actually had this experience with this one reflection. I was like, why am I having that? Then I realized that I was thinking, did I ever have that experience with another reflection of, and I did. And I'm like, okay, what is it that the two experiences have in common? But so I'm sort of still working that one out. But here's what it was. It wasn't even about them falling or something like that. It was actually deeper. It was on an emotional level. I recall, well, this just happened. I saw someone crying, and I know why they were crying. And actually, they were wailing. And my first reaction was like, I was shocked because I didn't expect to see that or hear it. And it was yesterday. And, and, well, he had lost his wife recently. And then, so if my first thought feeling was like, oh, shock. Like I didn't expect that to hear that or see that. And he was in his own car, but he had his window open and you could hear him talking, saying, I miss you so much, but wailing when I tell you. And I was confused. I was like, why is he doing that with his car door open? He knows I just pulled in next to him. I don't know. Well, there was a lot of stuff going on. And so my first thought, and this was really hideous until I started thinking about why. I was like, well, good, now he knows how I feel. Now listen, that was like, what the hell? I was like embarrassed. I was like ashamed that I would think that, even that thought, and found a little pleasure in the idea that he was suffering. And the reason I'm exposing this now is because really truthfully, I needed to understand. And I was delving into this, like, why is this something? And then I was thinking, I know I don't have that experience with everybody. I I hardly ever have that experience. But then there was another person or a reflection, I'll call it, that I had that experience with, and it happened to be my sister, who seems to deliberately hurt people, everybody. She seems to deliberately hurt everybody. And I do remember he said something to me that hurt me a lot when I was trying to live on my own. Well, I don't know. He did something, and I started thinking, well, maybe that was kind of like why I get that feeling with why I have had that feeling with those two, is because I felt offended somehow. So then I'm like, okay,
You
how
felt
can I
how? You felt how?
offended?
Offended. Ah, okay.
Yeah, like I took it personal. Like I took personal what they're doing. I took as a personal assault to me. And yet now I'm like, like, why did I still have that feeling when I'm knowing more about A Course in Miracles? I really am knowing it, and I'm really like living it. But somehow that feeling came up, and I'm over here like, why? Like I don't want to have such a thought. And it was like it's hard for me to like say that, but I'm exposing it to get an answer also, like that might help another perspective of it, which my perspective is simply that, yeah, I took something personal, but I know better, so why did I have that pleasure?
Well, that is something that it's good to reflect on. It's really interesting. I mean, I can see why you feel like, well, this is a confession and this is something that I'm not proud of, but it's really something worth of contemplation.
Yeah,
And
because
maybe,
I need forgiveness and I need to find that, because it's not cool.
no,
you know
it doesn't feel good at the end, right? So
hmm
yeah, it's interesting. Lee wants to say
I
something.
would really like to hear somebody say I've had that too,
Hitler. Yeah,
to be
let's
honest.
Lee said something about it.
I got this. Forgiveness is the key to happiness today. That's the title of our lesson. It's the only key you need. It's not the only key you have. There are lots of keys to happiness, but you can choose this key. It's, if you will, the skeleton key that opens all locks anyway. This forgiveness not only takes care of you, but it also takes care of that guy in the car next to you as soon as you release it. And it's not something you can get perfect. You're going to have to do it over and over because we exist in time. We have to continually assert our will to forgive in ourselves and for others. Today, forgiveness is the key to happiness. I would awaken from the dream that I'm mortal, fallible, full of sin, and I know I'm the perfect child of God. That's the way we exist in time. So, give yourself some grace. Forgive yourself now, and if you have to do it again in 30 seconds, do it again in 30 seconds. It's
Well, I actually
okay.
had an epiphany just now, and that was
Nice.
that I felt like there wasn't any compassion, and I must have desired compassion about something that I was experiencing. So when I experienced or I perceived that there wasn't compassion, it kind of, and so maybe this was just a memory, and what came to me really quick was like, what goes around comes around. And then I was like, and then I had to turn it back into myself and say, really, it's me somehow lacking the compassion, you know, what looks like to someone else, but it was really for me, because that would have been enough for me to be compassionate to myself, for sure. So to forgive myself and be compassionate to myself is the answer. I think I just worked it out.
Well, and I have to say
Good
for
job.
myself that what you just shared made me reflect on how many times I like to be seen crying. I don't like to be seen crying. I hate when I cry, not because I feel like, I don't know. It's just that for me, crying is worthless in some form. But that is an idea that didn't came from the truth. That it's a belief that I probably picked up when I was little, and maybe my mom or my dad said something about it.
Yeah.
And it's really for me annoying to see myself crying. And I hate when I cry
Yeah, me
too
too.
much, because for me it's like I'm wasting my time. This
Yeah,
is
me
not
too.
worth it. So you made me remember the first time that I had to break up with a boyfriend. I was really young, and he burst into tears, and I was in such a like deep moment too, because my dad just died, and I ended that relationship, but he was my first boyfriend, and he was in so much tears, and I was so mad at him because he was crying in my house, and I was dealing with all my feelings, and I haven't cried in that moment. I didn't cry for my dad. I wasn't able to cry for my dad because I had to take care of all the details. I was very young, but I had to take care of all the details of his buried and all those things that has to do with red tape and such, because my sister didn't want to do it. My mom was not in a place to do it. I mean, everyone was taking care of their own feelings, and I had to take care of things. So I couldn't feel my emotions. And then I broke up with this guy, and this guy burst into tears in front of me, and I was really mad at him. I was like trying to get him to cry in his house because I wasn't able to put up with his emotions. But it was because I wasn't being compassionate about my own emotions and my own feelings about the grieving process that I needed to do with my dad. And I cried like 3 days after he died. So it is. I'm sorry. It is a good sharing for me, for myself, because it's an example how tough I can be because I am not being compassionate with myself.
Thank you,
Okay.
because yeah, I do have to say that's really. I'll let you talk, Bob. I just honestly have to thank her because yeah, I do have issues with crying, and so maybe I seen that as a weakness, and then yeah, for some reason I jumped on that. But it's been, yeah, been my past too. I don't cry really easily, and I feel like it's unnecessary even. So I don't know. Must have
Yeah,
something.
Well,
we need to forgive and accept that part of us, of our.
I have
That's
something to say
interesting.
about that because
Oh, sorry.
I can remember in my either my late teens, somewhere up there, 18, 19, 20, I'm not sure exactly, I realized that I, I felt, I thought is a better word here, that I just didn't feel things like most people. I didn't cry, I didn't laugh, I was just kind of numb. I didn't have feelings, and I actually felt myself. Felt is a funny word here, but I thought that I was outside the realm of normal human beings because I couldn't express. I didn't feel fear. I didn't shake inside my boots, so to speak. I couldn't feel love, although I had love all around me. And I couldn't cry. I just never cried. And I felt that that was a curse. And yet, when you all talk about you're embarrassed, let's say, to cry in public, I see it as an incredible blessing to be able to be comfortable enough with myself that I can cry in public. And to take that a step further, once I became aware of that, guess what? Life gave me lots of reasons to cry, to fear, and other things. And I said, okay, that's what feelings are. Men aren't supposed to even have those things, feelings. And Lee can tell you that when there have been times when events have made me feel great sadness, that I can cry now, which to me every time makes me feel more human rather than inhuman. And when I can do that, what'll happen almost every time, but well, it doesn't happen anymore. But for a long time, Lee would say, "Don't cry, Dad," or Susie would say, "Don't cry, honey," or whatever. And I would say, "No, I want to cry. It releases something inside me that I was holding in, the grief that I was feeling. I didn't I didn't understand that, and I didn't understand that as a human being having this experience on earth, as we talk about all the time, that it's important to feel all of our feelings. If we cut off some of them and we don't express them, then we're cheating ourselves, and we're also cheating other people because they don't know how that made me feel. So the whole idea of feelings is, for me, an incredible miracle and a blessing. And here's a joke for you, Lee. You said before that you have keys, that a skeleton key that lets you out of jail. And that's so that you can let out all of the skeletons in your closet. And there you have it. And that's
Good
it for
one,
me.
Dad. Good one,
Yeah.
Dad. That's a great way to kind of wrap things up with a terrible joke.
I
I
wanted
love
to
you
add
so much,
something.
Dad.
Janine want to add
Okay,
something,
go
Mom.
ahead, Janine.
Bob, I'm in the same. It's amazing how we have similar experiences in this room. It's always how we can relate to each other. It's in such a deep way in different experiences. But I went through that phase in life too, where I just didn't feel like I felt anything. Like I didn't feel like crying. I didn't have that empathy bone that some people have. You know, I just didn't. I felt like, well, maybe I'm a narcissist. I thought that for a while. Um, why am I not crying over this situation? And I see someone else in tears. I just couldn't get there. Certain movies where people were maybe emotional, crying. I thought, what is wrong with me? And when I started my spiritual journey and started these heart opening exercises, and I used to think, well, what does that mean? What the heck is heartfelt? Like, what is that BS? Like, yeah, open your heart. I'm like, what is that? That's so stupid. That's how I used to think about it. And when our heart actually has its own, like, mind, if you will, it's actually very powerful. And I had mentally decided to close off my heart. I think about it when I was pretty young from being hurt, which is actually not a good thing. I actually had done it myself. And, once I started my spiritual journey and doing meditation and opening up my chakras, I started to cry over things. I was like, what is this? Because I too had I had the feeling,
Beautiful healing.
Andy,
Good job.
yeah, like you, Andy, I used to think that was weak to see someone was crying. I wasn't, well, no, it was Adriana. I think you were talking about the boyfriend that was crying. I had too had a boyfriend that was crying. I thought he was just so weak. I was like, why is he crying? Oh, please. It's like, it was just so weak to me. And now I'm like you, Bob. I'm happy when I cry over something. And it's also cathartic at
It's
times.
freeing.
It's
It's
freeing.
It's a
true.
blessing.
It's
Yep.
beautiful. And like you said, it can be a shared experience. Um, when you're sharing something with someone and you're both crying over something beautiful. It can be beautiful tears, sad tears, however they're coming out. I allow them now, and I don't see it as a weakness. I think it's very beautiful. So that's my share. Thank you.
Yes. In fact, one of the things that I most admire of Lee when I first entered this room was that capacity of being vulnerable. I was really amazed by him at the beginning when I didn't have any feelings for him in the way that I have today, but I was really impressed because, well, as I told
I
you in the
leak a
past,
lot.
yeah, yeah, that for me is really another whole world. Having a person that it's so like for me it's like a balance now when in the past was like a weakness. For me, if a man in the dimension that Lee is, because he's really strong, he's really, I mean, he can carry whatever you want to, he is really a strong man, and a smart man, and well, loving man, and that he can be able to cry when he feels frustrated or whatever, or touched by his emotions. For me, it was really amazing to see. And in the past, I had a completely different perspective, but that is as well because I am now able to cry in front of this camera, and I don't mind. I'm not longer in that mindset that I was in the past about crying, because yeah, I'm understanding and remembering that to give is to receive. So if I let myself be vulnerable, I can have the softer parts of other human beings around me, and I can feel the compassion that I want to feel through them, because I know that I can give it to myself. So it's a quite interesting thing to realize now, Andy. Thank you for bringing the subject into the table, because I think it is for a forgiveness lesson too. Okay, thank you very much.
This is even doing another little twist in my brain, thinking about something. I was like, I actually laugh at myself anyway, even over things like that. And I really don't. I really, I really don't. Things don't really hit me as sad. I guess, and I even told my kids, listen, don't cry for me, whatever you do when it's done, because and don't even cry for you, because you have to know. Well, I shouldn't tell them that, but I guess I feel like you have to know that I've lived my fullest to my life and my life experiences. I've actually feel very rich with experience. And so, and I just keep having them. So I'm always like, it's not that serious, but I don't know. So there's that aspect to it too. But because when I think I'm trying to learn to cry, I'm like, it's just not coming natural. I guess there has to be a time when it's natural. I don't know. Um, yeah. So I am a little bit, still trying to understand that, why I don't have that type of feeling. However, I feel that I'm very compassionate. It's not that I don't have feelings ever. It's just was those two situations that had me thinking, and I guess it was because somewhere I had some kind of pain. Maybe I didn't cry it out. Maybe that was it. But this has been. I
Yeah,
do
maybe it's
appreciate.
something way, way, way before your adulthood that get you to the idea that for you to be strong, you don't need to cry. So maybe is
Yeah.
that what we need to
Oh,
forgive, because
yeah.
because
Well,
it's not about them, it's about you. I mean, the experience that you had and that you're sharing with us, that it's of course it's a shared experience. It's always about ourselves. So
I'm so
it's
glad that
something
I
there.
that you guys make me feel so comfortable to say these things. I
And
do.
I can tell you, for example, Kurt that now has started to really make an effort to open his mind. Now he's so in touch now with his heart again, that I have seen him cry these past few weeks so many times that I never saw him before in all the years that we were together. So it has to do with the heart, not the mind. If you just use the mind to go back and see where were the times that you had to withhold your tears when you were little, because when we are little is when we don't have control over emotions, so we are taught how to deal with them. And in that teaching from our elder or our parents or whatever, maybe it wasn't your parents, maybe it was a teacher, or I don't know, anybody, we all had this kind of experience that you don't need to cry over this, or something was painful for you and for everybody else was like a joke. So you learn maybe not to cry, but laugh. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But
you're right though. I mean, I did. My dad used to hit us if we cried. So he'd go, "I gave you something to cry about." So that was the thing. Yes. So I
well,
didn't. I
that's it.
wasn't. Yeah. That's probably a big part of it. But just that. Yeah. That's. It might be a big part of it, and seeing it as a weakness in myself, and then seeing it as a weakness in someone else, and then But then I had that little part where I just felt, yeah, where I felt for some
Because
reason
now
I
you
was,
need, yeah, because now you are understanding, because this is the way the course works in us. This is the way specifically when you finally contemplate the reaction that you have over anything outside of you. You contemplate it and you said to yourself, well, this is interesting. Why is this happening? Instead of just letting it be like it is. And the course is just driving you to heal some parts of yourself that you didn't even knew that were, yeah, like in a reverse mode or in need to heal, right? So it's
absolutely
beautiful.
right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's great. Yeah, thank you.
Andy, I wanted to share something with you. Um, when I feel that, that someone has hurt me and I'm sitting in my anger, I also have taken pleasure in seeing that person suffer. But like Adriana was saying, now I'm able to become a witness of my own reactions. And I realize that it is because I'm sitting in that anger and that lower emotion at that moment that I'm having that reaction. And it's not my true self. But like we're just these vessels and these emotions are just meant to move through us. I know I'm not that anger. And like Janine was saying, ever since my spiritual awakening as well, I cry for everything. I know my heart is still, a little bit closed, but it is opening up. And I also have never liked crying in public. I still kind of don't, but now I'm just kind of letting these emotions, flow through me and not like attached to it. Like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or, you know, I am this sadness or I am this anger. I try to just let them pass through me so that I can, move on to what's underneath, which is just love. Anyway, so I didn't want you to feel like,
You don't want me to feel
alone.
alone?
Yeah,
You know what, you
because
guys?
I have that in me as well,
Thank you.
not in, yeah, absolutely. And it's always with the whole prison analogy as well. Like, I don't want to see anybody suffer, but for some reason, if you're in my prison at that moment, like I do take pleasure, and I know that's not who I am.
Right.
That's not my higher self. That's but that's what I'm currently letting go of. That angry prison guard.
Yeah. Yeah, but it
Because
was nice to. It is nice
yeah.
to actually when it did happen today. I did it. That I did do the right thing. I said, "Why is it that this? Why did I need this like experience here? What is this really? What is this really? You know?"
Yeah, you witnessed it. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I think that I do feel more human because of it. Actually, I do feel more human because of it. In a
Yes.
weird way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because we're meant to feel it all. I'm sorry to talk over you, Andy.
no,
But
that's fine.
we're meant to feel all of it, all the emotions. We're humans,
She's
and
definitely
that's
the
what we
one.
specialize in. What'd you say, Lee?
And she's the one you can talk over. It's okay. She's the one that we can add to,
That's
and it's
right.
not going to subtract at all. Add or
Absolutely
less
right.
there.
I
And
love
I
I
Well,
can
I'll
love
hear
take.
you
you.
even
I'm going
if
to
we're
talk
talking
over
both
all
at
of
the
you and
same
say,
time.
talking over all of you, I have to leave right now because I have some very important things to do. For me, I'm going to be selfish. Ha 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 ha. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Love you,
Bye,
Bobs.
Bob.
Bye, Bob.
Bye.
I guess I should go on with my day too. Oh, hi, me fun.
Good
I,
morning.
I
I
know.
I love you
Hi,
all.
Nan.
Have a wonderful,
Love
wonderful day.
you.
Have a
Enjoy
beautiful
your
day,
first
Bye.
day of
everybody.
Have
May.
a beautiful day, everyone. Namaste. See you tomorrow. Peace and love.
Namaste.
Oh, I
See
love
you
you,
Love
tomorrow.
Rosa.
you,
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Rosa.
your beautiful words.
I love you guys too so much. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Love y'all.
We'll be here tomorrow. Have a wonderful day today.